Staff and I had many discussions about a possible variance. I've brought a lot of variance requests. I've seen a lot of variance requests, and I agree with staff. I don't think a variance is even remotely possible because of that first criteria in the statute that says the problem can't be created by an owner or a former owner. And the former owner hired the surveyor. It's a very easy jump to say that even if there was a mistake, it was up to the homeowner to make sure that the acreage was 10 acres in size upon the split for the mortgage that ultimately resulted in this lot being divided. I just don't see where that ultimately will be an argument that we could win on a variance request. The former owner is ultimately responsible for how that mortgage description, how the carve-out of the house lot was ultimately created.
Well, did the mortgage description describe it as 10 acres?
No, it described it as 8.1, I think, is the actual acreage.
I don't think it had the acreage in the description.
Correct.
It described boundaries that they were assumed were 10 acres.
So just like Joe Schmo homeowner should have been able to read the survey and recognize that? I mean, that's kind of asking a lot.
Well, no, a surveyor who goes out, I mean, I don't know how this was done. I don't know who the surveyor was. I don't know. We tried to find that out. We don't know who that party was. But a surveyor who's going to split out a lot from any larger parcel has got to go and find out what the minimum size of that parcel has to be in order for it to be conforming. It's the first thing a surveyor does when they go, before they go out in the field. They need to know what they're going to be measuring for and how they're going to create the dimensions that comply with whatever zone it happens to stay in. That's the first step. And if that surveyor didn't do that, and there's no evidence in the city file that a surveyor ever did, how do we know why this ended up being 8.1 acres instead of 10? That's the $64,000 question. But the ultimate responsibility is the responsibility of the owner that make sure that that 10 acres is 10 acres. And one other point, just so you know, and I came in late only because I'm at the end of the agenda for another item, but Gary McFarland has absolutely no intention of dividing this parcel into any more than what it already is, which is a house lot. And if the board feels that that's something that it wants to assure for all time to be the case, Gary's authorized me to say to you that we'll put on an affirmative negative easement or a deed restriction, or however you want to term it, that basically says that the lot can never be split for any other residential purpose, that this single house that's there now is the only house that will be on the property. And that will cure the potential for growth and city service imposition and the other things that are certainly concerns in the ag zone. So if that's something that is acceptable to the board, Gary's perfectly willing to submit whatever language is acceptable to staff and to you to make sure that that lot doesn't get split for any residential purpose other than the house that's there now.
Well, then I would like to make a motion that we I'm not going to make a motion. My preference would be to move to table until such action occurs, and then I'd be willing to look at it. But I'm not willing to say we'll do this on a promise.
Are you saying to table it till next month so we can do more homework on it?
No, table until such time as that deed restriction exists on the lot.